Welcome Motivation Sunday. Welcome Motivation Sunday.
Welcome to another edition of Motivational Sundays with Kevin and friends. Oh God, it's a beautiful day. I am always blessed. Anytime God gives me a second chance at this life, I am grateful, and I make sure that I don't do anything to make Him regret it. Hey, for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, let you know how this show got started. I had over 300 motivational quotes created personally for the contents of my book and gathered around my friends, which are all my co-hosts, Lois, Christopher, and Gilda, Vanessa, Kurt, Denise, Dr. Breakthrough, Mrs. Blue, and PJ. We were always wondering, were these quotes just words that kind of laid there on a page, or were there a conversation to be had? So we decided to get together every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Someone each week brings in a quote, and based on our interpretation and perspective, we talk about this quote. And you'd be surprised on how many ways this quote or a regular quote can be interpreted different, depends on where you are and what space you occupy at that very moment. So without further ado, I want to welcome all my listeners. I want to thank all my followers. I want to thank all the subscribers. And I want to introduce you to the voice of our show that's going to deliver the quote for today, Mr. Kurt Battles, the voice. How you doing, Kurt?
I'm great. Happy Sunday to all. We're so glad you're here. Our quote for today is, "Until you learn to heal the wounds of the past, you will continue to bleed into the future," by Laia Van Zandt.
All right, all right. Well, this quote reminds us that many of us have unresolved issues that just doesn't disappear with time. When we avoid confronting them and confronting the wounds of our past, our hurt, our betrayal, and our regrets, those emotions quickly shape how we think, how we react, and how we treat others. Healing is not about pretending the past never happened. It is about learning from it and that the pain no longer controls your future. So, me giving that some thought, I'm going to turn it over to the person that actually brought the quote and ask Miss Stephanie Blue, how did this quote by Miss Van Zant land on you?
Oh God, this quote actually just resonates throughout my entire body. Um, so there's some key words in this quote that really kind of stung at me. You know, the quote is until you learn, right? Learning is something that we all have to do because the funny thing is that sometimes we don't know that we have wounds, right? We're not aware of them. So we come into adulthood and we act out and our behavior is off and we can't figure out why we can't sustain relationships, why we can't keep these jobs, what's going on with our kids, what's going on with ourselves. So we have to learn, right? What some of these things are. And I love the word boogies because the word boogies are the things that go bump in the night, right? Those are the things that you experience and that you don't experience with others. You experience these things yourselves, right? So until you learn to heal the wounds of the past, right? Some of us, we don't think that we have any wounds from yesteryear. We think that oh, I had a great childhood. I went to a great school, yeah, all these things, but we have wounds in the past. Some of us, we don't want to talk about those things, right? They're embarrassing. I don't want people to know. If they only knew, right? So these are the secrets. And some of us know that, we're only as sick as our secrets are, right? So you will continue, meaning you've already been bleeding. So you will continue to bleed. You may not even know that you were bleeding. Once again, how do you show up in relationships? How do you show up on jobs? Like, how do you show up, with your children, right? So something is already showing up, right? I love the word bleed, right? Because I look at it and I say it to my friends sometimes when I say your crazy is leaking. right? Imagine standing in a room and just something just pouring out of you in a puddle, and you're surrounded by a puddle, right? And I say that's your crazy leaking out, because if you don't address these things, it's going to show up. You may think that you can hide them as long as you can, but you know what? When we start talking about some of these issues, whether we're talking about it with friends, whether we're talking about it with a therapist or a counselor, or if we get to that point where some of these things that are bleeding out of us are so harmful to us, right? Some of us, we turn to different ways to just kind of silence the noise in our own heads, whether it be a food addiction, a drug addiction, alcohol, gambling, addiction, shopping. We're looking at our credit cards, trying to figure out why we spent $5,000 in 1 month, because we went shopping somewhere. See, that's the crazy leaking out, right? That's the crazy leaking out. But if you pay attention to your crazy and begin asking yourself, okay, something's going on, something's happening, right? Because if you're in tune with your own body and in your own mind and spirit, you know when something is going on, you know when you're beginning to bleed out. But I tell you, phew, stop the bleeding. Stop the bleeding. Take that moment to look at what's going on in your life, because something's happening. You're not being the best version of yourself. Now, these are things that you don't have to tell other people, but that self-awareness that you have yourself when you know that you are acting out and something is wrong, stop for a minute. Pause. Okay. All right, Blue. I'm gonna say Dr. Blue because that's generally what Kevin calls me. I guess I've been demoted to a miss and not a doctor anymore, but I'm gonna say doctor, right? Stop, Dr. Blue. Like, because something is happening. And I just sit for a moment. My favorite Bible quote, Dr. Breakthrough, is be still and know that I am God, 46:10. See, sometimes I just need to sit still for a moment and sit in that puddle, right? And sit while I'm bleeding out and say, I want to do something different. I don't know what your belief is. I know what mine is. And my belief is that if I have that conversation with God, like I did this morning, and ask the question, what's going on? Give me some insight. Something's off. I'm unbalanced. I need to be centered. Then I'll get the answer that I'm looking for. Guess what? That's the best surgeon in the world. The bleeding will stop. The crazy will end, right? But while I'm going through it, see the point I'm at right now? Shh, I'm in the cleanup mode because I had to clean up all of this, right? But it's minimal. The damage is minimal. But I'll be right back on my way again. And I thank you for giving these moments to share that. Until you learn to heal the wounds of the past, you will continue to bleed into the future. I don't want nobody bleeding out. Stop, take a moment, do what you got to do, be the best version of yourself that you could possibly be. And if nobody told you that they love you today, I know I do. Thank you.
All right. My grandfather always said, education is not always designed to make you comfortable. It's designed to make you think. And I appreciate you sharing with us. And people, I want you to understand, if you listen to anything um, Dr. Blue has said, and I'm going to correct myself, and I'll make this statement, Miss Stephanie. The reason why I did not address you as Dr. Blue is because I looked down at how you put your name up on the thing, and I just kind of reacted when I'm doing the show. And most of the times in my personal circle, that the friends are in there, we normally address each other by each name, but not title. But I'll remember that going forward. But I want to go ahead and say that, for those of you who are listening to this quote, I want you to listen to the shares, because there's a story behind every interpretation of each one of our shares. Either it's from betrayal from someone, either it's heartbreak from someone, it's either a loss of employment. It's either someone has lost their way or someone has damaged someone so bad in their past they can't see the future. This quote carries a lot of weight, and the only way that you can heal, and sometimes you may not be able to do it on your own, is to listen to someone else's story. So, with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Christopher and see how this quote lands on him.
Thank you, Kevin. I had to find my little microphone here. It was lost. Um, the quote is, um, I don't know. I want to say it's personal, because it makes you reflect on things out of your past, and a lot of times, most of us keep our past not so much a secret, but somewhat personal, because a lot of the things that happened in our past, we either not, or one like Doc, I'm sorry, one like Dr. Blue said, we may not even be aware of some of the things in our past, but there are other things that are clearly marked in our heads as something that I'm either embarrassed of, ashamed of, or rather people didn't find out about me particularly. But getting to place those items in your past in perspective, in other words, claiming what's yours, recognizing what was passed on to you from somebody else, or uh, you know, moving through the fog of denial of where it is something that can be said to be yours, your past, your past. Um, I won't say crimes, but your past doings. But accepting that, placing all that in perspective, and then going forward. Now, the actual bleeding, um, you can staunch that in a couple of different ways. But recognition of those items in your past that are bleeding into your future, you've got to recognize them, you've got to control them, you've got to staunch them, you've got to stop them. But I don't know, I guess it's this weird thing about that particular quote. It reminded me of another quote that I picked up when I first came into service. Well, actually, and then again, when I went to work for the Veterans Administration, President Lincoln, who basically started the Veterans Administration with a promise that he made after the Civil War. He had a quote that, and I'm going to just paraphrase it now. He said, "The best way to control your future is to create it." And in that, once you get control of your past, place it in perspective, staunch or stop the bleeding, you can carry that into your future, into the future that you create, in the future that you envision. And that's my take on it. It's just sort of like one quote topping on top of another quote that simply made up the direction that I hope that I'm going, but it's the direction that I chose to go some years back. So there are a lot of things that happen in your past. Another thing that Dr. Blue touched on was the fact that we're always learning. Something that I found out later in some psychology class I took. We learn oftentimes without knowing it. A child is created to imitate. A child is created to learn. From the day he takes his first breath, he's learning. And oftentimes, through the people that you are observing, those people, your mentors, your parents, you can receive information and not even be aware of it. And some of that information could very well be a past that isn't even yours, but you've now brought it into your life. And that past can be shot full of holes. You're bleeding like profusely from those past, and it's not even yours. It's someone else's past, but you perceived it, you received it, and now you're owning it, even if you're not aware of it. But that past is still one that you need to take a great handle on, put it in perspective, recognize this being either yours or one that you received through learning, or one that you simply thought was there. But the idea is take those learnings, take that past, mold it, shape it the way that you want it to go. And there's no reason that you can't predict your future by creating it. And control the bleeding.
Okay. You're muted, Kevin.
Kevin.
Now, believe it or not, I was saying some very powerful stuff. You guys should have been there.
Hey, we were.
I'm sorry. Got some background noise here in my office. But anyway, what I was saying, I don't know for those of you that could read my lips, is that what Christopher said, often we have unresolved issues that we don't even give attention to, but we show up every single day with a certain set of values, beliefs, and behaviors, and we pass it on to those that are unwilling and unknowingly collecting information from a source they trust. And often it's our parents and the people. Every child comes into this world with a clean slate. They learn how to walk because they see us walking. They learn how to talk because they see us talking. They learn how to resolve issues because they see us resolve and deal with our problems. But they also learn how to see the rest of the world because we're the first picture that paints how we treat people, how we feel about things, and how we move through life. So, Christopher, I want to thank you for your share. Mrs. Blue, Dr. Blue, this quote, it has legs. I want to tell you this. And so I'm going to see when I toss it over to Denise, a gifted educator on our show, and we thank you for your gift. And again, I'm going to peel the pages back, and I want to thank um, you, one, Christopher, for your years in service. I hope our young people that have been activated, that are serving this country, um, I hope God protects you. I don't know why we're doing what we're doing, and that's a whole different show. But I want to thank you for your service and for the mothers and the fathers and the brothers, sisters, and cousins, aunts, and uncles that have lost loved ones through this encounter. Our prayers be with you. So, um, Mrs. Lopes, how does this quote land on you?
Hello, everyone. Grand Rising. For me, this quote is heavy. I like Yolanda. I like her quotes. I read her book. I have her praying book. I like pray every day. I pray. I use it every day. For me, this quote is to learn to let go and let God. Basically, because your past is your past. You have to be in the present. You have to feel the present in order for you to prepare for your future. And for me, with this one, if you don't let go of the past, you're gonna bleed on people that has nothing to do with it, nothing to do what happened in your past. And forgiveness. Forgiveness is a big thing. You're not forgiven for, like, if somebody did something bad to you, somebody hurt you, it's for yourself. It's not for the person, because you're going to carry that. That person is living his or her life. And you are the one like building it up and being angry. So you need to learn how to let go of everything, and let them and let me. That's my thing this year. I've been doing that, and I had a lot of anger. I carried a lot, and I'm like, this is not doing any good to me. I have to let go, focus on the present, focus what's in front of me, and what the plan that God has for me. Um, I'm here for a purpose, and I'm here to live and enjoy life. Because when you think about your past, you just keep bleeding and bleeding, and it's not letting you move on. You're not moving on, and that's not good. That's not the purpose of your life. For me, it's let go, let God. That's how it landed on me.
And that's why it's so important. This self-awareness is the first step towards healing. I mean, we all spend our time and energy trying to fix someone else, but we never look in the mirror to see what's broken on our side. Even though the picture is clear, we oftentimes ignore the problem and we put our heads under the pillows, the sheets, or whatever, and we think that tomorrow's just going to go away. But until you address it, the problem still remains the problem. I'm going to ask the voice of our show to give us the quote one more time, and we're going to turn it over to Gilda and see how this quote lands on her. The voice, Mr. Curtis Battles, we deliver the quote for our listeners, please.
Good morning again, everyone. Our quote for today is, "Until you learn to heal the wounds of the past, you will continue to bleed into the future."
Hey, Gilda, how does this quote land on you? Look at that smile.
Well, the quote landed on me as face your past to avoid further pain
In the future.
or future pain. Yes.
Right. Simple and true. Um, that's why healing requires patience. Dr. Stan, Dr. Breakthrough. Um, you've heard a lot of shares up until this point, and I can't wait to hear your share. How does this quote land on you, sir?
Well, breakthrough blessings to each and every one of you. This quote, actually, it's been amazing just hearing some of these other shares. And the concept of this quote came to me years ago. My wife, and she would say, baby, what I just said to you, and your response, it can't be from this. There's something deeper. And I was like, what do you mean? And basically, what she was saying was what this quote is really all about. There was some additional healing, and I think sometimes when we have been through a lot of trauma and we've healed in some areas, we just assume some other things are taken care of as well when they're not, and it just keeps showing up. And those are clues. And so we have to understand again. It's been said that people who have been hurt and have not yet been healed will hurt other people. But people who allow God to heal them now can be used to help and heal other people. And so I think this quote is very powerful and apropos and causes us to look and think about the wounds of our past. And like I said, sometimes we've been wounded in ways we don't even know. Sometimes we've been wounded in ways we're not even aware of. And the things that start showing up in our life, as the quote is saying, helps us to start saying, wait a minute, let me let me look a little deeper. Let me something other than what's happening now is what's causing this. And sometimes it's just something, in my case, I found there's some things that just have run in our family, and I had to find out, man, if it's not running with the Bible, I'm gonna run it out of my family. Come on, somebody. So
There you
so
go.
so it made it run in the family, but I had to run it out of the family through the blood of Jesus. And like I said, through just understanding this is not what's best. This is not producing the breakthroughs. This is producing the breakdown. By the way, as Dr. Breakthrough, I've experienced more breakdowns probably than anybody else, and I had to get God's help, and He helped me out. And I just kind of made a plan and prescription. I figure if it helped me, it can help other people as well. So those wounds of the past, the unresolved hurts, the trauma, the betrayal, the shame, the rejection. Um, that's it's all there in all of our lives. But then when we talk about, and has been stated already, bleed into the future. I mean, that's the pain that keeps leaking into our reactions, the anger that feels bigger than the situation, even the distrust of good people, right? And sometimes distrusting our own selves, right? I mean, these are things that we have to come to grips with, and we have to sit the self-sabotage, right? I really talk about that in my the MMA book. Talk about that mental martial arts, learning how to defend yourself against your greatest opponent. And sometimes it causes us to turn to things and try to cover it up with, unhealthy relationships, and sometimes feeling stuck, sometimes the emotional loop that we just kind of stay in. And so it's all about taking responsibility. And responsibility to me means respond with ability. So, okay, we got to identify, okay, this is what happened. or this is what happened that maybe I wasn't even aware of that now I'm being made aware of. And so let me deal with it. Let me learn to heal and get past this, because again, it's been stated you're a product of your environment. And that's maybe true, but what I learned to say is no, I determined to change and go from being a product of my environment, because that's when I was a child, didn't know any better, to now being a product of my empowerment. And that's what these quotes are doing every Sunday when we're meeting and we're empowering each other. And hearing the different perspectives, it even sheds light on our own even more. And so, but again, we can't get away from the thing of forgiveness. And I stated, and sometimes we really got to forgive people that aren't even asking forgiveness, because it's not about them, it's about us, about our future. And it's about us, again, stopping this now before it goes any further. And sometimes it's forgiving ourselves for not reacting or responding the way we thought we should have, right? And it's not cursing. You all know better than that. But like somebody said years ago, stop shoulding all over yourself. And that's what we keep. Well, I should have this, and I shouldn't have let this, I shouldn't have that. And so sometimes you just got to forgive. And especially if you're a type A driven personality, the hardest person to forgive is yourself, because you set such high expectations. You're such a driver. But I think this quote helps us to, as our sister said earlier, Isaiah 46:10, be still, know that I'm God. So just to stop sometimes, just stop. And as the scripture says, he maketh me to lie down in green pastures. And so this is like a green pasture where we can get graze and get some things. And so thank you for the quote, Dr. Blue. And thank you, Kevin, for bringing this all together. Peace, breakthrough, and increase.
It's side that should be thanking you. And the one important part that landed on me and your share and everyone else's share is, and I'm going to go back to weeks when PJ said this, is that when you forgive yourself and you're standing next to someone and you pour into them, you're helping them grow. You should always leave a person a little taller when you exit the room than you did when you enter the room. I don't know if I got that right, PJ, but I'm gonna, bounce this over to Lois to see how this quote lands on her. And the hard part about it is forgiving yourself. We carry stuff with us way too long. If you got something that happened to you at the age of 16 and you're 64, it's time to leave that at the next train station. All right, and move on. Look beyond the horizons and see what opportunities play for you. And if you hadn't hugged someone that you love today, don't wait until you see them on their way to tell them how much you love them. So, with that said,
Kevin,
Lois,
Kevin,
yes, sir.
I hate to do this, man, but I want to say this. Just yesterday, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to share something with you I've never shared with anybody ever in my life. And when I shared that with her, she's like, oh my goodness, I understand you better now. There's a whole nother Hugh now that I understand. And I don't know why I didn't never share it with any. Well, anyway, but I'm just saying. But this quote is like it's just it's encompassing all that. And I think somebody said something about we stuck in our sicknesses based on the secrets, whatever else. And there was something that happened to me, but maybe the shame, maybe the whatever it was, I just never shared that particular part. And I just felt led to share that. And it was such a freeing moment, not just for me, but for her, that she's like, wait a minute, now, okay, now I'm understanding. And then I was able now to see, oh, so yeah, this is deep.
All right. And so PJ, you're gonna get what you've asked for before I go to Lois. And I'm gonna turn it back to Dr. Stan. A lot of times when we hold on to things and we have moments, the epiphany moment that you had when you finally felt safe in a place to share a story untold, and that's it, is fear. Because a lot of times we don't know how people are going to react when you open up to someone. You know, you find out they shut you down because they've got their own story, they got their own problem, whatever, and we don't become professional listeners. And I will say this to anyone: if you get to someone that's need healing and they come to you and they open up, listen, and then put your arms around them. You don't have to give your advice, whatever, unless they ask. I mean, most of you guys know I always ask for permission before I speak. And if you're not ready for the truth, then just be honest and tell me you're not ready. We'll save it for another time. Healing does take time. Healing does take patience. And healing does have to have an open heart. And that's the reason why, this world is bleeding at the rate we're going because we're not reacting with an open heart. We're just reacting. And chaos likes that. So, Lois, um, I'm going to set up quote one more time for Curtis. I got a little distracted. Thank you, and I love you all. And I thank you all. Curtis, before we go to Lois, one more time, if you don't mind.
Our quote for today is, until you learn to heal the wounds of the past, you will continue to bleed into the future.
All right, Lois.
Grand Rising, guys. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. So I was gonna do a Gilda this morning, but I'm just gonna add a little bit to it. So my thing is let go and let God. And I could just stop right there, but learning to heal the wound of the past, it may be easier said than done because it affects us mentally. And a lot of we speak about growing up and learning. It's a lot of it could be self-fulfilling prophecy. Like we as kids, we soak up everything. We learn from our parents, we learn from our friends from we're small. So it becomes like if it's wrong, we think it's a norm. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If it's good, it's the same effect. So we have to determine, maybe sometimes later in life we get to realize, oh, this is not the path I want to take. I have to address these things in my life that has happened before so it doesn't affect my future. So it's a tough quote, and bleeding is necessary a lot of times because I think bleeding heals, or bleeding shows us where we need to go or what we need to address. So being aware, being conscious is very, very necessary. The big thing, and I know it's a big thing now, mental health is so, so important. And none of us really, it hasn't really been addressing it. Oh, it's okay, or she's crazy. Stephanie speak about bleeding crazy. Some of us need help, and it's okay to ask for help. Right now, I see that they're putting more emphasis or more aware of mental health because it's affecting so many of us. And we see teenagers, we see younger kids just committing suicide. We see people in their older ages committing suicide or just being in a mental institution. And we wonder why. This may be because a lot of the bleeding that they've had in their earlier days weren't addressed, or nobody, people just overlook it and say it's okay. And a lot of us are crying, but who is seeing the tears? Who's seeing the sweaty eyes, like Kevin speak about? None of us really, we just overlook, sometimes because we have our own issues, sometimes because we fail to address what is wrong, we just let it go. But it's affecting so many of us and it needs to be addressed. So it's a powerful quote, and we just need to be there for each other and be aware of what's really going on, and seek help if needed. It's okay. I mean, a lot of our jobs have that opportunity. A lot of people who have been to war, thank you again, Christopher, they have post-traumatic stress syndrome. That needs to be addressed. That's serious stuff. So, a lot of times we take things for granted, but this is serious. So healing is good, bleeding is good. We just need to seek help if needed. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. I thank you. And you made us think with what you said. Matter of fact, everyone's thinking. And the mental health issues that we are all experiencing. And I will say this to the young men: take Lois's advice, talk to someone, find someplace safe, because we seem to shut down. We seem to be brave when we're shaking in our own boots. We think it's going to get better tomorrow, and it only escalates tomorrow when you don't have answers to today. So, PJ, we are going to see how this quote lands on you if you're ready for it, PJ. And I got a box of tissue over here for you.
Uh, oh, oh. So, this one, this quote carries a quiet truth, but it packs a punch, and it hit my last nerve. Got to tell you guys. Most of us nurse old wounds. We tell ourselves we've moved on, but when we least expect it, unhealed pain tends to rear its ugly head. We overreact to certain situations. We're afraid to trust. And then we try to take control. Healing doesn't come from pretending the past never happened. It means acknowledging the wound, learning from it, and releasing its power over our future. With time, the wound becomes a scar, and scars don't bleed. They simply remind us that we survived and that we are stronger and wiser than before. The future doesn't have to carry the pain of the past. A wound can become wisdom. When we heal the wounds of the past, the future no longer has to bleed. So if I were to write a prayer to help us heal, it would be this: God, grant us the courage to face what still hurts, the grace to heal the wounds of the past, and the faith to release what no longer serves us. Amen. The end.
Amen. Amen.
Wait, I'm ready to take offering.
All of you make it tough for me to say anything that makes any sense. But PJ, when you talk about, I don't know how many of the ladies on the show have ever done this, but I know we have done this as men. We have gotten together and says, "Oh, this scar right here, this is came when I was 16 years old, and I did this and I did that and whatever." Now the person comes back and say, "Oh, you got nothing on his." Pull up his pants leg and says, "I got this when I was doing this and that and whatever." And when we talk about those things in jest, we talk about those scars. Um, the physical scars, they heal. Um, you brought about, going through the times that we're going through. Not many of us have ever seen your oldest brother walk into the house after carrying out the trash and he's bleeding profusely. And knowing that my older brother was always clumsy, we took it for Dwight just fell, whatever. And because of my mother's involvement in the civil rights movement, my brother took a bullet to the head while carrying out the trash. For most people, it would draw a hard line in the sand of um, people being different from you physically, how you move forward in life. But that's not the story that was told inside my house. My mother always preached about love. She was always preaching about turning to your faith. When we talk about untold stories, Stan, this is one of those stories because I've never owned the reaction of how I felt when I saw my brother. But I do know when he left this world, that was the story that I told in front of the church and everybody else, because it was a wound that was still open. It was a scar that never healed. We all have those scars. And I think we, as people, need to go into the healing business. We need to share those stories and those scars. And we need to put people in positions that understands the ramification of those scars. I said this earlier at the top of the show. There are 7 people or 7 families in this life, in this world today, that are their lives are changed forever. And it's probably a couple hundred, or maybe even 1,000 more stories that will be told that we're going to need healing from, that we'll never see, we'll never hear from. Depends on propaganda and whatever the case may be. This quote has legs. This quote has life. This quote has purpose. And if we stop repeating the mistakes from our past, we cannot heal going forward. So, Vanessa, my eyes are sweating right now. So I'm going to ask you to save the day real quick. How does this quote land on you?
Well, divine day. And it is deep, so deep, because we all bleed. We all have wounds. And yes, we may have scars and we may talk about them in jest, in honor, or in sadness. But those wounds are there to remind us. Those wounds are easily opened because they're never completely healed. And as I'm really tapping into the divine, it speaks of a bleeding heart and contrite, and in offering comfort to the healing, there must be a deep, deep, deep restoration. Not everyone can do that restoration. Not everyone has the courage to do that restoration. Because in that, we have to truly tap into the divine and speak our truth. Because the truth will set us free. So, without all the things that are going on in our beautiful world that is being corrupted by tyranny and evil, are you part of that? All I know is I'm here to heal and to be done with this. So I hope you have the courage, the voice, the truth to be set free. With that, I wish you all the love and harmony. Cheers.
Thank you. And you even brought your own mood music along with your share today. I don't know if maybe it's just me hearing things or whatever, but I heard something in there. So it was
I
unplanned,
always
unscripted.
have my own music
All right. Yeah.
because that's my healing mechanism.
All right.
Otherwise, I go poof.
I'm going to say don't do it again. It's harder for my editors, but it did fit the moment. So it's like Forrest Gump, like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Exactly, that is who I am. Don't try to learn who I am because I will surprise you every time, baby.
All right. Well, this is the reason why, in the podcast world, they say your show is only supposed to be a certain time or whatever. And we censor our guests, and we normally don't get the real meat that's on the bone, and we leave something on the table because we want to edit everything. On this show, we don't do that. It is planned for a 25 to 35-minute show, but I will say when Grandpa speaks and he's got something to say, we sit and listen. When my co-host speaks and they got something to say, I don't care about what everyone else thinks we should do. We just do what we do. And that's the reason why we're here on Motivational Sundays with Kevin and friends. These are all my friends. I ain't edited nothing. All right. So with that said, Larnez, all right. My personal bodyguard when I show up in public, beware. All right. Mike Tyson ain't got nothing on her. All right. So how does this quote land on? Wait a minute, I gotta go back because before we do you, Kurt, you gotta give us a quote one more time. Well, you're gonna give it twice because you're next.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So happy you're here. Our quote is, until you learn to heal the wounds of the past, you will continue to bleed into the future.
Well, first and foremost, blissful rising. I'm grateful to be here. Ayala Van Zet is a phenomenal teacher. I love everything she does. I was able to peel back the layers while reading her literature. To me, if you don't address what hurts you, it doesn't just disappear. It shows up later in your reactions, in your relationships, and the patterns that keep repeating in your life. A lot of people think time automatically heals everything, but time mostly just gives you distance from the event. Healing happens when you actually sit with what happened, understand how it affected you, and decide that the pain doesn't get to keep directing your life. Because in those wounds are an acknowledgement. They don't stay quiet. They show up in subtle ways, sometimes when you least expect it. You know, those moments when something small happens, but your reaction feels bigger than the situation. That's often because the moment touched something older. Maybe someone dismisses your opinion, or suddenly you feel that familiar knot in your chest. Maybe someone pulls away and your mind instantly jumps to abandonment. Maybe criticism feels heavier than it logically should. That's not always about what just happened. Sometimes it's the past saying, there's still something here. And you know what? Here's the truth that can be uncomfortable but powerful. The people who trigger us often act as mirrors, not in the sense that they're blameless. Some people absolutely bring their own dysfunction to the table, but the reason certain behaviors hit so deeply is often because they connect to something unresolved inside of us. The coworker might mirror a fear of not being valued. A partner might mirror a fear of abandonment. A friend's criticism might reflect an insecurity that never fully healed. Life has a way of placing mirrors in front of us through the people we encounter. Those interactions reveal the part of ourselves that still need attention, compassion, and healing. We spend a lot of time learning the wisdom of our vessel, our body, our personality, our habits, and the way we've learned to survive this world. But we rarely acknowledge the wisdom of our soul. Our soul carries knowledge and experience far deeper than one single lifetime. It carries centuries of learning, wounds, growth, awareness. That deeper wisdom exists to guide us through the experiences of life. Your vessel, your mind, your personality is simply the current form through which the deeper wisdom is expressing itself. The challenges you face, the people you meet, the wounds that surface, these are all a part of the soul's opportunity to bring deeper understanding into this life experience. And this entire experience becomes a reflection of divine intellect that was created. In that sense, your life itself becomes a reflection of God moving through your human experience. The moment you truly decide to heal, to break a pattern, to forgive, to grow, that shift automatically happens in you. But sometimes reality takes a little time to reflect that. For a while, the outside world may show up familiar in a pattern. That doesn't mean nothing changed. It simply means the world is catching up to the internal shift you've already made. Like turning a large ship in the ocean, the direction changes first, but the movement has to follow. When you begin, excuse me, to understand your wounds instead of avoiding them, something powerful happens. You stop reacting the same way. You stop repeating the same patterns. You stop responding with awareness. I'm sorry. You start responding with awareness instead of pain. And in that, you become something incredibly important. You become a cycle breaker. Many of our wounds we carry didn't start with us. They may come from family patterns, culture conditions, generational trauma, and repeated emotional habits passed down over time. But when you choose to heal them inside, when you choose healing them instead of repeating them, you start to close the loop. Your interruption is the pattern. The pain that once moved from one generation to the next finally stops with you. And that's how healing doesn't change your future. It transforms the entire cycle. We have to really acknowledge how many people prayed for you to be here, how many people dreamed of you to come save them, right? And these triggers come in 2026 because you have access to the tools. And our problems and our issues and the challenges that we go through in life is our heart memory, right? And the memory is showing themselves to say, hey, we prepared you for this moment. I don't need you to forget this right here, but you have this tool to close this. We knew it was you. We knew you could do it. And you kind of got to stand in that. And every time I sit with literature from Miss Van Zett, she takes me to places for me to address trauma, heal the wounds, and continue to grow. And with that, I am complete.
And you left us a little taller, a lot taller, listening to that. Yeah, I would love to be inside your head. I would love to be able to echo some of those words and those sentiments and the way that the inflections on the word. I mean, when you speak, your words have a certain intention on it. All right. It has a commitment on it. It doesn't go over your head. It stands there and looks you in your face when you speak. I don't know. Uh, Kurt, you know, sometimes, I look at the fact, being the last one picked is not such a bad idea because you're before me. And you got to follow that. All right. That's like standing in line and fight it out that Tom Brady decided not to play, and this is going to Super Bowl, and they hand you the ball, following Larnez. I know everyone's hating me being a Brown fan. I use Tom Brady as an example, but most of my friends here are from Boston, so I got to show you some love. All right. He is probably the best, even though two of his wins has an asterisk. I'll say that. But when you take a team that uh, finished in the bottom one year, and you take that same team without many changes, and they are at the top of the game, that says a lot for you. So honesty is the best truth. It's a healer. So Kurt, You get a chance to deliver the quote one more time before we close. You get a chance to go ahead and give your interpretation. And I don't know what I'm going to do after you. All right. Because, you know, this was a lot. And I'm going to tell you, I'm thinking here, TEDx ain't got nothing on Motivational Sundays. All
Okay,
right, Karen.
our quote for today is, until you learn to heal the wounds of the past, you will continue to bleed into the future. So everybody's done such an amazing job. I'm going to try a different approach to be able to to share something here. So I think of this quote as if I'm a train on the track, and I always have to go forward, and the place I'm heading to is my beautiful future. My beautiful future sometimes goes through forests, it sometimes goes through dark tunnels, but I always break into the light. I always find the next place I want to go. I'm always headed forward. I may have to change the path I'm on and veer off of it to come back to where I am, but I can't back up. And then what I do is I have these cars that I'm pulling. I pull into the station, and what I hope to do is unload that piece of the past that is holding me back and slowing my movement into the my destiny that's right in front of me. Sometimes when I'm driving the train, I don't exactly know where we're going. However, when I get there, I will also get people who will get onto the train that are helping me, and they're breathing into me and they're breathing into my destiny. And so I have to continue to be that really faithful engineer and conductor, making sure that we are getting to the place we should get to, and as quickly and in the way that will make the most sense. As I go down this track, I help people as well in finding their destinies and making the world a better place. And that is how this quote landed on me.
I want to personally thank each and every one of my co-hosts, Lois Campbell, Christopher, and Gilda James, my voice of my show, Kurt Battles, Dr. Breakthrough, Dr. Blue, Denise Lopes, Vanessa Vita, PJ Strout, and also Larnez for so many powerful shares. Um, and my head, when it gets to this point, it's it's like a big plume of smoke. It's like, what do I say that will make any sense that hasn't been already been said? Um, how can I add value this something that is so rich? This is a pot of gold when we talk about conversations. But let me start with today with the powerful truth. Every one of us carries something from our past. Some of us, we carry disappointment. Some carry broken trust. Some of us carry mistakes that we wish we could undo. But one of the greatest lessons in this life is to ignore the pain that doesn't heal it. When a wound is undressed, they quietly shape our reactions, our relationships, and our decisions. And sometimes we end up hurting the very people that we care about, not because we want to, but because we never gave ourselves the time or permission to heal. Mrs. Van Zam's quote um, reminds me, and it should remind all of us, there is a better future. We must deal with the pain. We must carry it from the past. Healing is not our weakness. Healing is our strength. One of the things, and most men are going to say, you've been listening to Miss Van Zant, is that she is honest. And sometimes honesty hurts. But if you truly want a better future, you must be willing to face your past. Healing does not erase what happened, but it frees you from being controlled by it. Every lesson learned from pain becomes wisdom that strengthens your character. When you heal, you protect your future. You open the door to helping others heal themselves. And PJ, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to say this for every single person that is on this podcast today. Your share, your intelligence, your heart. I feel taller right now. My grandfather always says when you get to a point in life where you can help someone else out, he says your duty to do so. He said, reach one, teach one. And with that said, we what?
We fade to black.
But make sure you come
You
back.
come back.
All right. Until next week with
What's
the
your
new.
hat?
Hey, and to our listeners, if you like what you heard, you can find us on RMK Productions and Network on our YouTube page. It's up to you to follow, subscribe, make comments, or even share. I'll leave it up to you. What I'll say to you is until next week with a new quote, stay positive, open your heart to loving your neighbor, open your heart to loving yourself. With that said, we're out.
Welcome Motivation Sunday with Kevin and friends.